So this will be the video that will show you how we will do this activity with younger students or students that may have a little trouble getting hands-on all of the materials. And it's actually a shorter version of doing the activity as well. So if you have a limited amount of time, even with older participants, you could do the activity like this. So with the setup, you will have already measured out your 6 teaspoons of sugar. You will have distributed the worksheet to all of the students, but you won't be distributing the cereal boxes. What you probably want to do is make sure you've identified 3 or 4 different cereals that you want to use as a conversation, but you want to talk about all of the cereals. I tend to be really silly with the students and get them laughing and yelling. And we start talking about, look at this cereal. What does this cereal tell you? It has real chocolate chip cookies in it. That's not breakfast. That's crazy. That's dessert. Or Honey Smacks. And you want to talk about, oh, cinnamon toast. That's a good thing to have for breakfast, but look at how sparkly it is. What do you think the sparkles are? Do you think the cereal really has eyeballs on it? A lot of the kids get really focused on it and get really obsessed about talking about how much they enjoy it, or if they have it, if they've had it at home, or they want to try it. But you keep focusing on what is it about this cereal that makes you want to eat it. Crave chocolate. Is chocolate really something to have for breakfast? What does it really look like? Oreos or cookies? That's not a breakfast cereal. So we get talking about why they make the choices and what attracts them to different cereals. So then usually I pick some obvious ones. You know, I pick a cereal that I know for sure has very little sugar, one that one assumes has a lot of sugar, and things that have hidden sugar or sugar that you might not realize. So and I like to throw them around too. They're laminated, so they will last. Let me move these over. So then I asked the students to make some assumptions. Of the 5 cereals that we've put in front of us, which one has the most amount of sugar and the least amount of sugar? And they will tell me what they think. They'll say that they think that the chocolate one has the most amount of sugar, so we'll put it over here. And they think the Raisin Bran has the least amount of sugar. And they will usually put it in some sort of order. Of course, not everybody will agree, but you'll try to get the class into some sort of agreement of what do they think is the order that they want to put them in. So you can even line them up on the chalkboard or put a Post-it note down and say, Raisin Bran, they say, is the least amount of sugar, and work its way up. At that point, you'll take each cereal and you'll point out the nutrition panel, and we'll talk about how big is the serving size and how much sugar is in each serving size. Sometimes what we can do is have the conversation about portions versus servings. So you could either just talk about how much sugar is in each serving, but sometimes cereals have different serving sizes. So you'll ask students, I'm going to pour some cereal into a bowl right now. Tell me when to stop. Tell me about how much cereal you eat every morning. Not how much cereal you want to eat, but how much your mom pours for you every morning, or how much cereal you pour for yourself every morning. And so this is where it gets noisy. So we start pouring, and they start yelling, more, less, stop. So oftentimes, it'll be a bowl about this size. And then we put it in the measuring cup to look at about how much cereal they pour for themselves for breakfast. This happens to be about 1 cup. So when we start talking about serving size versus portion, I do the math for them to say, so that when you're talking about the different cereals and how much sugar they're consuming in the morning, you're leveling it out. So with Raisin Bran, the serving size is actually 1 cup. And in the amount of sugars is 20 grams. You'll see on the worksheet, to find out how many spoonfuls of sugar is in 1 serving, you divide it by 4. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. So 5 teaspoons of sugar in Raisin Bran. I'm not going to write upside down. So you would either write it on the Post-it note or on the chalkboard, the whiteboard above the cereal. We don't have chalkboards anymore, do we? So you would work that way down your entire list of cereals. You would also have the conversation at each one. 5 teaspoons of sugar, is that more or less than the 6 teaspoons is recommended? And they would talk about that. Some will know that it's more, some will have to guess that it's less. You could even work the math in. How many more is it? Tell me what the difference is. And you work your way down each cereal. So with Cheerios, it is less than 1 teaspoon. I think it's about a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar per serving. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is it's actually about 3 teaspoons of sugar per serving. Lucky Charms is also about 3 teaspoons of sugar per serving. And Crave, now with more chocolate, doing the math, knowing their typical serving size is 3/4 of a cup, so you have to round up. Surprisingly, is also 3 teaspoons of sugar per serving. So you can have the conversation with the students about what does that look like? How surprising is that for them? That something with all of this chocolate has less than something that is a cereal with flakes or with fruit, or something that has marshmallows actually has less sugar in it than a cereal with flakes in it. And so you begin having the conversation about added sugar, about assumptions, that Raisin Bran, actually many of the manufacturers of Raisin Bran, whether it's the generic or the name brand, they roll the raisins in sugar so that they don't stick to each other. Or many of the sugars in a Raisin Bran is because it's natural sugar from the raisins, and it's not necessarily the added sugar. So if you ate a cereal, some of these have like 9 and 10 teaspoons of sugar per serving, depending upon, again, the portion size. Some of the other culprits you'll find as you go through have a lot more sugar. So you have the conversation with the students. How might your body feel? How might you feel right after eating this cereal? But how would you feel about the middle of the morning before snack time? Would it keep you full? Why not? How about the cereals that have very low added sugar inside of them? Do they taste good? Yes or no? Do you like how they taste? And if you wanted to change how they taste, how can you improve the flavor without adding sugar? Invariably, some student will answer, I'm gonna add sugar. And that's fine too if that's their choice. But the whole conversation is about arming them with ideas and choices. So how can I make my Cheerios look better or taste better? They even give you an example on the front of the box. Adding fresh fruit to it, and you can name what fruits do you want to add to it. Here there's strawberries. A lot of students will add blueberries or bananas or whatever berries in season. Besides talking about cereals, you can also ask what might be a different choice for breakfast. Some people will have Pop-Tarts, or some people might just have toast or fruit, or even scrambled eggs and bacon. So why would you have protein? Why would you add protein to your breakfast, and how will that make you feel during the day? What are the other options? Would donuts be a better option? Maybe. Think about how much sugar is in that. You can help your students fill out their worksheet by putting the name of the cereal on the cereal box and the amount of teaspoons of sugar per serving that they have in the cereal. So at this point, you can continue your conversation as long as you have time, talking about what sort of choices, if one chose to have a sugary cereal during the day, if they chose to have more than the recommended 6 teaspoons of added sugar, all of it in the morning, how could that affect choices that they make throughout the day. Will they have that cookie at lunch or a creamy after dinner or after sports practice? What sort of choices will this help the student make throughout the course of the day or when they're asking for a snack later? So again, the conversation you're having is, am I telling you never to eat sugar? No, I'm not telling you not to eat sugar. We all eat sugar, and we actually, many of us enjoy it. What I am telling the students is to remind them to think about what are the choices they're making. There's also, you can ask them what choices they could make now that they know how to find the sugar. What choices can they make throughout the day to reduce the amount of sugar that they have? How can you make a healthy cereal more interesting? So at the end of the activity, at the end of all your conversations, students should be able to explain how to calculate and how to find out how much sugar is in each cereal or in a food that they're choosing to eat. Identify what kinds of cereals are healthier for you and why. Identify ways to add flavor to your breakfast cereals without adding sugar or artificial ingredients. They can also describe the elements of a healthy breakfast or meal. So you'll find that students will want to keep talking about this, and you're going to have to wrap it up. But the nice thing you can do is remind them to bring the sheets home, talk to their families about it. I've often found I go back into the school a week later or a month later, and the students come running up to me to talk about how much sugar they had that morning and how proud they are that they've actually reduced the amount of sugar that they've been eating. So you'll find that the conversation will extend beyond that setting in that classroom, will go into lunch, and it will continue over the next couple days.